All right, let's take a look at the 10-point blog post audit, because when we look at a blog post or really any content that's at the aware or engaged stage, it's difficult to discern whether or not something's good or bad, right? We might read an article and we might say, well, I loved that article. Or we might read an article and say, I hated that article. That article was terrible. The question is, why? What makes an article good versus an article bad? Now, we're going to go through 10 different points that you want to check every time you write a blog post and make sure that you hit all 10 of these things, because if you got a couple of these missing and somebody says, well, that post was kind of meh, it was just okay. If you can identify what component of the article was just meh, you can fix it and go from, just kind of an average article, which is death today on the internet, right? To just create average stuff is not acceptable. We talked about that earlier when we talked about, do you need great stuff? Do you need great content? So how do you create great content? What are the components of a really amazing blog article? Well, there's 10 of them. And we're going to jump into my computer right now and we're going to review a few articles and use the 10-point blog post audit.
All right, let's take a look at the 10-point blog post audit. And just like, what we're looking to do here is we're looking to figure out what makes a blog post good or not so good, right? How do we take a blog post that is kind of this amorphous thing and improve it? And the way you do that is you got to break it into its component parts. And I have broken this into 10 component parts. We've got the headline, the introduction, consumption, goal, media, close, search, categorization, completeness, and consistency. And you're going to use this audit to go through a blog post and make sure that you've got all your ducks in a row and that you've got an outstanding blog article. So you're going to give a score of 1 to 4. So you can make changes here, everything from exceptional all the way down to completely unsatisfactory, and it's going to tally the score up at the bottom. So if we give this a 1, we didn't like the headline at all, it's going to drop your score down immediately to a 93. And then the other way to use this is to type notes in here as to how this post could be improved. Now, we're going to use a blog post from salesforce.com as our example today as we go through the blog post audit. All right, so remember, this is a great way to take a blog post that is kind of okay and make it absolutely outstanding. So let's start with number 1, which is the headline. So what we're looking for here to get an exceptional score is a clear, tightly written promise that's made using as many words as necessary, but none more, right? You don't want it to be wordy, but you need it to be compelling. And the promise is made in the headline is delivered upon in the body of the post. And the headline is not hypey or misleading. Let's take a look at their headline. Here we've got everything you wanted to know about marketing attribution models, but were afraid to ask. Okay, I like this headline. I think it's compelling. I've read through this article, and it absolutely is delivered upon. They are delivering upon this promise, because remember, a headline is a promise. You're promising to tell me everything I wanted to know about marketing attribution models, but I was afraid to ask. And they deliver on that in there. And it's a, for some of you, you might be rolling your eyes like, I don't want to learn anything about marketing attribution models. But it's a compelling promise for those that want to learn about attribution models. I'm going to give them a 4 on this. I think it's an outstanding headline. All right. Now, the second criteria we're going to look at is the intro. For me, if I'm going to spend an extra hour on a blog post or an extra 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a blog post, I'm going to spend it on the headline or I'm going to spend it on the introduction. Because remember that when a reader visits your blog post, they are in a completely stop position, right? And you've got to get them moving through the copy. And so what I recommend that you do with your introduction is that you make it easy to consume and develop a rhythm to the piece. And you want to draw them in and compel them to read the entire article. So what you don't want to do is make the introduction really difficult to get through. You don't want it to look intimidating. And by intimidating, I mean like big blocks of text. So let's take a look at what they did with the opening. All right, so the editors note this article is among our most popular, so we've updated it recently, etc. Okay, but let's look at the opening. Marketers today have their work cut out for them. The average customer uses 10 channels to communicate with companies, which means da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't love the way they've structured this opening, and the reason is because I think that it's difficult, a little bit difficult to consume. I would break this text up. I would put a break right here. So I'd hit the return key right here and make a space. I would look to try to get an image in here above what we call above the fold, which is, where, right in the opening, I would want to have some kind of an image or break the text up in some way using bullets or using numbers. I would want to make a really compelling promise right here in the opening so that I would compel people to dive deeper into the article. For me, this is just a little bit too much of a block of intimidating looking text. And I know some of you might be rolling your eyes thinking that is not intimidating text. But I'll tell you, it's more and more important every day as we continue to deal with shorter and shorter attention spans that our content is easy to consume and doesn't look intimidating in the least. And so we use things like line breaks, very short paragraphs, bullets, numbered lists, block quotes, images, subheadlines, things like that to break up the text and make it feel more consumable. So I'm going to give them a 2 on this. I think there's a lot of improvement that can be made here. I think there's speed bumps right there in the middle, right there in the introduction. I call them speed bumps. And let's look at the consumption. So again, we want the whole page, the whole article to be formatted in a way that makes the article easy to consume. We want good, strong transitions from stage to stage. And I'll tell you, as I move through here, I see some subheadlines that are breaking up the text. I see a bullet list here. That makes it feel more consumable for me. Another bulleted list. Nice image here that's illustrating the point. So, and then again, some more bullet lists, more images. Okay, so, but again, we see big chunks like this, and I'm telling you, this does not look consumable to your average reader these days. So I think there's more room for improvement on the consumption side. And again, you can read through all of these, what I'm looking for here, bullets, numbered lists, block quotes, transitions, stuff like that. We do not want to create speed bumps. Now, is there a clear goal? Let's look at number 4 here. Is there a clear call to action that is made that is relevant to the subject matter of the article? So let's go and look. Is there, because remember, it is not only bad marketing if I read this and I have no way to take another step down the customer journey. It's not just bad marketing on the part of Salesforce.com. It's bad user experience. If I want to take the next step, if I want to learn more, how do I do that? Is there something on the page that allows me to easily go and do it? So this is more of a, this call to action up here, try Salesforce, is more across the entire website. And it's okay. It's good, right? We've got, do you want more awesome content? I think that's a call to action for me to get more content. It's not necessarily relevant to this article about attribution models and about marketing. I see a little sidebar opt-in, or a little sidebar call to action here. Win customers, keep them happier, get the #1 CRM. I think this is a more of a site-wide sidebar call to action that's on every page. Here's some more articles. Okay, and then if I scroll all the way to the bottom, they've got a call to action here for what looks like an event called Connections in Chicago. If I click on that, this looks like this is some event here, a conference. So it's a call to action. There's a number of calls to action here, which is great. It's not super relevant to marketing and attribution models. And the more relevant your call to action is, the better it's going to perform as an advertisement inside your article. So I'm going to give them a 3 on this. They've got a lot of, they're not failing to provide me a next step, but it's not super relevant. So a more relevant call to action is available. Let's look at the media. Images, video, and audio are clean and clear and high production value. So this site it's got a decent design to it. It looks a little bit dated to me. The images are good. I would not say outstanding graphics here, but they're good enough. That they're using here. So I'm going to give them a 3. And recommend that they could definitely improve those images a little bit, but overall looks pretty good. So then let's look at the close. How did they conclude the thing? Was it effective in the conclusion? Did they use humor, wit, insight, or otherwise? Or does it feel like what you're looking for here is you don't want the post to just feel like it just falls off a cliff and just ends. All right. So again, we're talking about attribution models here. We're going along. And the way that they are doing this is they're saying how to get started with marketing attribution. And I would say that the close is okay. I wouldn't say that it's not like some big standing ovation at the end where I'm going to stand up and say, wow, what a way to bring the end of that piece, right? It was just tied the whole thing together. Great humor or wit or anything like that. But there is a close, right? That's kind of what you're looking for, is that there is at least some way that it's acknowledging that this is now over, right? Not just like last sentence and it's over. Let's look at the 5 on-page SEO elements. We'll only be able to look at a few of these, but are they clearly targeting some keyword on this page? Like, can I see that there's some SEO being done here? And so if I look at the title tag, it's just the name of the post, everything you wanted to know about marketing attribution models, but we're afraid to ask, Salesforce blog. That's the title tag. That's not really that great. They're not really targeting necessarily any keyword here. I would say that you can see that this author, whoever put the SEO on this page, is looking to target this. What is marketing attribution model? Okay, and I would have put that in the title tag as well, if that's what I'm really looking to target. You can see that they're using the term marketing attribution models, and the most important thing is that they do have some kind of a keyword, some kind of SEO happening here. I wouldn't say that this is a really highly SEO'd post. They're using, the important thing is that the post seems to have value, right? If I did read this article and it does have value. It is about marketing attribution. They are targeting clearly something here, but you're not seeing them use it in the title tag, at least not verbatim. So I'm going to give them. They can definitely improve on the search here, so I'm going to give them a 3 on that. Categorization. This was categorized in their marketing category here. So the big thing here is that you want to make this so that people can find it, and one of the ways we help people find things is by categorizing. So yes, I'll give them a 4. Is it complete? The post completely delivers on the promise. Yeah, I think it does. Could there be could they have created a more thorough piece about marketing attribution? Of course, right? You could write an entire book. You could write multiple books on marketing attribution. But I do think for a blog post that we did see a good completeness here. And then consistency. Does it feel consistent with the Salesforce brand? Yeah, I think it does, right? It's, you know, I didn't see any places where it was being overly like crude or humorous, and that's not how you feel about the Salesforce brand. You know, Salesforce brand is professional, and you know, a little buttoned up maybe, and that's how I think this piece reads. You know, if I was seeing, you know, somebody in here dropping curse words and, you know, using like slang language and stuff like that, I would be like, wow, you know, maybe that's not very consistent with the brand. So I gave them a 4 on the consistency, and overall this post gets an 80%, which is, you know, there's definitely room for improvement. And when you use an audit like this, you can go through and you can say, okay, like let's go and improve the search. Let's improve the closing a little bit. Let's up our game with these images. Let's get a more relevant call to action. Let's break up the text a little bit more, make it more consumable. Let's work on that intro, and we're going to have a post that's, you know, maybe a 98 now, and it's a really, really great article. What you have to do is you have to break it into its component parts. You have to look at each of these 10 pieces, and you will start building better blog articles.